Great. So when you are on the step one screen, you essentially see two sections here. One is the income section, and on the other side, you see the expense section. Now, we're in the systematic feed cash flow. Okay. Now, the first thing that you got to do when you come to step one for the first time is to create some income heads and expense heads for you. Right now, what you see here is that your income heads are blank. There's one default head called as miscellaneous created for you, and same on the expense side. Now, creation of these heads for income and expense is very, very critical because this allows us to later on analyze our income and expenses against those heads, and that's a very, very relevant information and analysis that's very important for us because it's going to help us curb our expenses and see what we need to do on the income side. So to create heads, it's pretty simple. First of all, you should know what kind of heads needs to be created. So for that, you can go to the income section and look at what are income heads, some valid examples of income heads, and some invalid examples of income heads. Same way on the expense side, you can look at some expense heads, valid examples, and invalid examples. Now I'm going to show you an example to create a few expense heads in one shot. So what I'm going to do is to create heads, I'm going to go to the expenses section, go to the add a new expense heads menu, and I look at this. Right now you see the existing expense heads shows you as blank. That's because there are no heads created except for the default head. And all I got to do is type a name here. So I'm going to say like grocery was one of my expense heads. I'm going to say add head. Then I'm going to say utility bills are my expense head. So I'm going to say utility bills and add. I'm going to say eating out is an expense for me. So I'm going to write this and say add. Now, this way you keep adding all your expense heads in one shot, and whatever expense heads you added will start appearing here. Once you've added all your expense heads, you can close the window and you would see that these heads start getting listed here. So when you actually start feeding in data for a particular month, say September here, you got to choose your expense head against which you're entering data. So for example, if you bought 1,000 worth of groceries, you got to choose grocery and enter the amount. You could also we would talk about entering data in a separate video, but right now the idea is to see how to create these heads. Similarly, on the income side, you got to create heads by going to the income menu and saying add a new income head and following the same process. Now for example, they could be so let's look at some of the valid income head examples. It could be your regular salary income, your EPF, variable pay, any business income, part-time income, and so on. Similarly, on the expense side, some of the examples that we just saw, like grocery and eating out, we just entered. Others could be like shopping, fuel, vehicle maintenance. Those are the typical heads under which you spend money. So once you've added your income and expense heads, then the process of entering the data or the entering the amounts would start. And I'll show you in another video how to do that quickly. But creating heads is very, very vital for us to get started on this tracking of cash flow systematically. It's very important. I can't undermine the importance right now because it's you will see the benefit of it in the years to come when you fed in enough data and we're able to analyze a lot of stuff based on these heads. Okay, so go about creating your heads. Don't create more than 15-20 heads because then it becomes pretty complicated. So let's limit ourselves to those rational numbers. So expense heads maximum 15, 16, and income heads maximum 2, 3, 4, whatever maximum possible. Okay, take it then. Bye bye.